Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Tuesday. Once more, we are delving into pagan problems, and this week it's about prioritizing magical protection in the home. Now, for some of this might be a no-brainer because we've incorporated it into our usual magical routines. We have certain times of the month where we might spruce things up again, make sure that everything's sealed and secured. We do periodic cleansings. But for others, perhaps they haven't gotten into the habit yet, or they might feel intimidated by the subject, or they feel so overwhelmed because when you're dealing with the unseen realms, it can be difficult to know exactly what you're dealing with when and whether or not things are as they should be, and something that might seem scary at first. Well, is it actually a friendly spirit that you've just misunderstood or misinterpreted, or is there a nasty little entity in the house that is wreaking havoc and you've got to deal with it? There's a lot that can be going on. There's a lot to absorb. So we're not going to be delving into individual techniques and various things you can try. And also, we're not going into the different varieties of spirits that could be there with the intention of causing you and your household harm. That might be something that we get into come January in a new series that I'm contemplating doing. But what we are talking about is having the proper mindset and cultivating that mindset. Because the thing of it is, and I know this is obvious to say, but we still got to put it on the table to build our case, is that it's too late to prepare for an emergency after the fact, particularly an emergency of this kind. Once something happens or it blows up in your face, you just have to deal with the situation as it is, for better or for worse. Now, this brought up in my mind because last October I saw a video from a practitioner whose name I'm not going to mention because this is not about calling her out, causing her embarrassment, or discomfort of any kind. This is just an example. She had something that had come into her home. It was causing problems, and it was getting increasingly unfriendly, and there was concerns about just how far down the road of evil that spirit just might be and what it could potentially do to her and her loved ones. And what made the situation even worse is that she never really investigated this side of things. She actually talked about that in her video. She wasn't one who felt very comfortable when it came to dealing with the unseen spirit sides of our craft. She does seem like a very grounded kind. I'm in this world, I'm on this side of the veil, I'm focused on here. And that's fine, up to a point. But as witches, we know we have one foot on this side of the veil and we have another foot on that side of the veil. We interact with both worlds in a more intimate and conscious way than ordinary people do. That's just a reality of what it means to be a witch. And another thing that struck me is how she said that she felt uncomfortable doing cleansings. And that really got me to thinking. A witch who, I had seen other things that she does. I mean, she knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing in a wide variety of magical subjects. But she felt uncomfortable doing a cleansing. Now, if you've been practicing any amount of time at all, you know that we deal with a lot of energy, and it's always a constant state of affairs of moving, stagnant energy out of the home, out of your workspace, out of yourself, because you've just got so much going through you, so much going through the home at any given time. You can't have it hanging about like cobwebs. It doesn't feel good. So the idea that a witch has been practicing all this time and she hasn't been doing just periodic ordinary cleansings and hasn't been setting out proper protections around her home and herself, that was, if I'm being honest, terrifying. And it just still does make me, not past tense, I am actively concerned for her. I am concerned for her well-being, because not only is she having to learn about how to deal with unfriendly energies, all at once, she's doing it after it's already worn her down a bit. So she's not able to focus her intent and confront the situation with confidence and clarity and authority. It can fuel her fear. And that dampens your focus, and that can scatter the potency of your energies, and that means that you aren't throwing everything as much as what you should to get something out the door that doesn't belong in your home and does not like you and is not there to help you. She's having to learn to do this all at once, and she's already at a disadvantage. That's not a good situation to be in. I've often said that I think that magical self-defense, very basic things, should really be taught from the word go. We should understand that as we activate our senses, as we become more proficient with our magical talents, you know, our energy, it's shining like a beacon, like a light, and things can be attracted to it. And not everything that's attracted to us is there to help. That's just the reality. And I don't say this to frighten anyone or to put anyone off from learning to practice. I just think we should be honest about what the lay of the land is and to understand ahead of time that there may be occasions when we have to deal with these things. And it's actually why, before I began the Wicca 101 series and those classes back in September, a week or two prior, I actually set out some very basic uh, methods of protecting yourself, your house, things in general, a few basic words about cleansings. And I said, it's not about becoming an expert before you even learn the basics of witchcraft. It's about knowing that you have tools at your disposal and having the confidence to use them if and when you need to. And if anyone wants to watch that video again, see, I put it on a playlist on YouTube. It was under Helpful Hints. That's what I called it. Go ahead, go back, review that. It's very basic stuff. I think anyone at any level could pretty much do it. And it's a starting point. And if you practice it consistently and with the full force of your will, that can be enough to see you through, a sticky situation. Now, the thing about magical protection is that, to borrow the words of Benjamin Franklin, an ounce of prevention really is worth a pound of cure. It is so much easier to keep things out of the home than it is to escort them out. You don't want things to give things time to get entrenched. You don't want them to make themselves at home if they are not there to be friends. You absolutely can't. You just can't be having that. It's not good. There will be consequences. So doing simple things like periodic cleansings and sagings. One of my friends at Blackbird's Brew, she does what she calls Sage Saturday. And that's a pretty good thing to do. Just set aside a day of the week when you're like, nope, I'm getting this energy out of here. Whatever it is, out the door you go. Don't come back. This is not where you live. And it makes a difference in the atmosphere, particularly if you've been doing a lot of intensive shadow working or you're trying to release things. You need to make sure that everything, including the energy from this work, gets released as well. And that means released right out that front door. Other simple things, such as, lining our windowsills and our doors with salt, using chalk. Some people use chalk to just make that line in the sand. There's 1,000,001 different things you can do, symbols and sigils and runes and all kinds of things that you can do. But if you don't do them, then it's not going to do you any good after the fact. You don't want to accidentally seal in something inside your house that does not need to be there. And of course, things only last for so long. Over time, energy dissipates. So by being proactive, making this part of your household routine, doing things on at least a decently regular basis, that is going to do far more than being able to expel a spirit that doesn't need to be hanging around. It makes life so much easier. And the last thing I want to bring up about having the right mindset, well, an effective mindset, I'll put it that way. That's probably a better way of saying it. But an effective mindset about making sure that protecting your home magically is a priority for you is to, number one, do not forget, rather, who's in charge around here. Unfriendly entities or energies that, may not have consciousness, but, are bringing down the atmosphere of the house, they don't own the joint. They're not paying your goddamn bills. They're not putting food on the table. They're not cleaning your house or doing the laundry or making sure the cooking's done or taking care of the cats, walking the dog, getting the kids ready for school, taking care of your spouse, or taking care of you. That's not what they're doing. They are using you as a food source. This is where it becomes so important to know your craft. Because if you are producing all of this energy and you're not protecting your home and you're not protecting yourself, then these unfriendly entities, they will latch onto you and they see a feast and they will drain you dry. Don't let them do it. If you learn how to protect the home, if you learn how to protect yourself and you learn how to repel things of that kind, you are no longer their prey, you are their predator, and they know it. Now, for example, I have a friend who has a spirit that is relatively attached to him, but he never would do anything. He wouldn't drag him down or feed off of him whenever I was around. And you know why? You know why he got distant? It's because I understood who was in charge. He understood that if I got to sense that there was a conscious entity hanging around, that I was going to take steps because I was the predator in the situation and I had the tools to do it and the will to do it, and this entity knew it. And ever since then, suddenly, it behaved itself a lot better. Now, my friend hasn't given me permission to fully dislodge it, and that is his call to make. I think he hasn't made the right call, but it is still, that is his autonomy. He has the right to make that decision for himself. But he is not experiencing the same kind of draining harm that he was, and it's just because the spirit that's hanging around knows that someone has got his back. It's as simple as that. Now, this might be a little bit easier if you are a Leo like me, because it's not for nothing that Leos are called the monarchs of the zodiac. And it doesn't matter if we live in a palace or a shack. It doesn't matter if we've got $1 billion or we don't have 2 cents to our name. It doesn't matter what our situation is. It's because, that sense of self-sovereignty is something that is innate. So, even if you don't have Leo anywhere in your chart, just try to put yourself in the position of someone who is, of someone who understands this is my house. I have the right to decide what goes on in it. I have the right to decide who comes in and who gets to stay and who's got to go. If you put yourself in that mindset, it will be so much easier to act with authority if the situation becomes necessary. Now, since I've been doing my craft, it has been a rare occasion when I felt like I really needed to take action, where there was something that absolutely had to go. And the reason for that is because I've been doing my homework, I've been learning about how to deal with things of this kind, and I have made sure that I put in place simple, basic, consistent, and renewable protections. And that has made all the difference in the world. And it does help to create this buffer zone between my home, what goes on here, and the outside world. And in case you hadn't noticed, there's a lot of crazy out there right now. It's not just unfriendly entities that we're protecting from ourselves. It is just the energy of people who have malicious intent, who are angry, who are traumatized, who are upset, who are dealing with all of this stuff that's really self-destructive. You don't want it in your house. You need to learn how to send it on its way, cleanse yourself, cleanse your surroundings, and keep it out. So, that's the mindset that I think helps a great deal when it comes to making sure that you do prioritize magical protection for your household. Now, as I said, this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface on the subject. That is something I am intending to get into in a lot more depth in the coming year. But for now, that's where we're going to leave the conversation. If you'd like to continue it informally, please come visit me at Blackbird's Brew. There's a link to join in the description box below. You just have to click it, and then there you'll be. And beyond that, just as usual, just subscribe, like, leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.